Growing up, I never quite imagined a simple phone call from my grandmother would unearth such a deep well of memories and emotions. My name is Cheryl, and at 30, I've carved out the life I once only dreamed of. I hold a senior position at Morgan and Reed Investments, live in a plush apartment in downtown Philadelphia, and, most importantly, enjoy the freedom of living life on my terms, away from the tangled ties of my family. On a seemingly ordinary day, my grandmother's voice, warm and comforting, filled the room through the receiver. "Cheryl, sweetie," she began, "your parents and Amy have settled into their new home. They're planning a housewarming party in 2 weeks." There was a pause, her hesitation palpable. "Are you and Grandpa attending?" I asked, masking my curiosity with a light tone.
"No, dear."
"We're not up for the bustle. Your grandfather's arthritis is flaring up again," she replied, her voice tinged with resignation. I expressed my genuine concern, assuring her of my visit soon, to which she responded with a soft, "We miss you." Before she could say more, perhaps invite me to the party I knew I wouldn't be welcome at, I gently cut her off. We both understood the family dynamics too well. After the call, I gazed out from my floor-to-ceiling windows, the city skyline a stark backdrop to my reflection, a successful woman, a far cry from the overlooked child I once was. It was ironic. My parents' new home would likely be modest compared to my high-rise apartment, a detail they remained oblivious to, thanks to my deliberate absence from social media. The next evening, my phone came alive with Pamela's energetic voice, reminding me of my impending birthday bash. "Don't you dare back out, Cheryl. Tomorrow's going to be epic, and everyone's excited." Her enthusiasm was infectious, and for a moment, I entertained the idea of shedding my usual privacy to celebrate in style. "All right, but let's keep it low-key." I relented, half knowing it was a lost cause with Pamela in charge. The party was a hit, and the photo shoot transformed my home into a scene from a glossy magazine. Yielding to years of privacy, I shared the images online, a decision that felt as though I was unveiling a part of me long hidden. The reactions were instantaneous and overwhelming. Old classmates, colleagues, and even distant family members expressed their astonishment at my success. It was liberating yet unnerving, like stepping out from behind a mask I'd worn for too long. The next morning brought a call from an unknown number. It was my mother, her voice falsely cheerful. "Cheryl, I saw your photos online. Your place looks wonderful. We'd love for you to come to the housewarming. Everyone would be thrilled to see you." The invitation, now extended because of my apparent success, left a cold feeling in my gut. "I'll think about it," I responded, my voice devoid of warmth, and hung up. As I sat back, the city sprawling below me, a flood of memories washed over me, each a stark reminder of the distance I'd put between my past and the life I now embraced. From the very beginning, my existence was something of an anomaly, an unexpected twist in the youthful lives of my parents. At 24, fresh out of college, my mother discovered she was pregnant. Both she and my father had grand plans: travel, career advancement, and savoring their freedom. The news of a baby was not a welcome surprise. "Mrs. Mitchell," the echo of the doctor's words from a story once recounted by my grandmother rings in my ears. "An abortion might affect your future ability to have children." Fearing future regrets, more than out of any desire for parenthood at that moment, they chose to keep me. As soon as I arrived, I became a frequent guest at my grandparents' house, leaving there first for weekends, then for extended weeks. My earliest, fondest memories are not of my parents' home but of the comforting warmth of my grandparents' abode, the sweet scent of Grandma's cookies and the hearty sound of Grandpa's laughter, both enveloping me in a feeling of genuine belonging. Everything shifted when I turned 7. My grandparents, having provided me with a surrogate home, insisted I needed more stability. "She needs to go to school and have her own home. You can't keep passing her around like this," my grandma asserted to my parents. Although my mother weakly protested, suggesting I was happier with them, my grandfather's stern resolve prevailed. By then, my parents had settled into their careers and bought a home, and they agreed to take me back, though somewhat reluctantly. I soon learned they were planning to have another child, one that was planned. I was 8 when my mom announced her pregnancy with what would be radiant joy and pride. As preparations for the new baby, Amy, began, the disparity in their treatment of us became glaringly obvious. While Amy received all the doting attention, my achievements, like leading roles in school plays or straight as were met with distracted congratulations or outright indifference. I gradually stopped sharing my successes with my parents, turning instead to my grandparents. Each visit to their house after school was a retreat where my accomplishments were celebrated. "Show me that report card again." Grandpa would beam with pride, his eyes twinkling. They remembered every birthday and every school event. When I won the science fair in 5th grade, they were the only family I had in the audience, as my parents had opted to attend Amy's dance recital instead. This pattern of neglect continued throughout my youth. My piano recitals, my middle school graduation, and even a state-level math competition went unattended by my parents, who were invariably preoccupied with Amy's activities. Meanwhile, every milestone of Amy's was celebrated with pomp and circumstance. At my grandparents', I found an oasis of love and encouragement. "You're going to do great things, Cheryl," my grandma would say, her voice both gentle and assertive, often slipping a new book or a trinket into my hands as tokens of belief in my future. In this dual world of neglect and nurture, I learned to build my path, drawing strength from the unconditional love my grandparents offered. They were the bedrock on which I built my self-worth and ambition, fueling my journey towards the independent and successful life I lead today. At home, I was practically invisible until Amy needed something. Then suddenly, I became the essential older sister, the babysitter, the tutor, the driver for her social outings. As the years rolled by, Amy's attitude worsened. By the time she was 10, she had perfected her skills in manipulation, always getting our parents on her side. "You're just a mistake," she'd sneer at me. "Nobody wants you here." I usually let her harsh words slide off, but on a particularly stressful day when I was 18, preparing for my AP exams, she crossed a line. She barged into my room with a demand. "Move your stuff. I need your desk for my art project." "I'm studying, Amy. Use your desk." "No, I want this one. Mom and Dad said I can have whatever I want." "That's not true, and I'm busy right now," I replied as she began tossing my textbooks onto the floor. "You're so selfish. You're just jealous because Mom and Dad love me more." I couldn't hold back any longer. Years of suppressed frustration erupted, and I grabbed her phone out of her hand. "No, you're grounded. Go to your room and think about how you treat people," I said firmly. She stormed off, hurling threats about tattling to our parents. When our parents arrived home, Amy put on a dramatic display, complete with fake tears, telling them I had hit her and locked her in her room. "I never hit her," I explained calmly. "I took her phone because she was disrespectful and destroying my study materials." My mom's face flushed with anger. "How dare you touch your sister? Hand over your phone," my dad demanded. They grounded me for a month, canceling all my plans, including a class trip. "Maybe this will teach you to be kinder to your sister," my mom declared. For the next month, they treated me like I was invisible. They would pass by me without a word and talk around me at dinner as if I weren't there. Amy's smug smile confirmed she relished her victory. This treatment solidified a painful truth. These people were not my family. They were merely strangers linked to me by DNA. On graduation day, only my grandparents were there to support me. My speech as valedictorian received a standing ovation, but the absence of my parents was loudly felt. "Where are your parents?" Mrs. Wilson, my favorite teacher, asked after the ceremony. I just shrugged. Their absence had become the norm. The day after graduation, the tone at home shifted. My parents called me into the living room for a blunt conversation. "You're 19 now," my dad began, his voice void of warmth. "It's time for you to move out," my mom added, not bothering to cushion her words. I discreetly started recording the conversation on my phone, sensing the importance of keeping a record. "What about college?" I asked, though I expected their dismissive response. Their laughter was cold and mocking. "We're not paying for your education." That money is for Amy's future, my dad stated. My mom sighed, almost relieved to be saying the words out loud. As they finalized their stance, I knew this was just another chapter in a long history of being sidelined. But this time, I was ready to move on, to find a place where I was valued and seen, beyond the shadows of favoritism and neglect. My parents made it clear that day in the living room. They were done with me. Let's be honest, my dad said, his voice devoid of warmth. We never wanted you. Your mom couldn't have an abortion due to medical risks, so we were stuck with you. You were never really part of this family. My mom casually examined her nails, treating the conversation like a trivial matter. And now it's time for you to go. I sat still, my phone recording their harsh words, capturing the raw truth of their feelings, a truth I'd always sensed but never heard so bluntly expressed. I mastered my emotions over the years, a necessary skill when you grow up overlooked and unwanted. I'll leave tomorrow, I stated calmly, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Their relief was evident, almost tangible as if a burden was being lifted off their shoulders. Good, my dad acknowledged with a nod. At least you're making this easy. From upstairs, Amy's voice echoed down, bubbly and excited about transforming my soon-to-be vacant room into her gaming paradise, complete with a new TV and streaming setup. That night, as I packed my life into 2 suitcases and a backpack, I overheard Amy planning her new room through the thin walls. The next morning, I left for my grandparents' house, the only place I ever truly felt wanted. When I showed my grandparents the recording, Grandma burst into tears, and Grandpa's voice cracked with emotion. Those aren't the people we raised, he said, disappointment heavy in his tone. I also shared another piece of news with them. My acceptance letter to Harrison Business School's investment program, complete with a full scholarship and housing. My hands shook as I handed them the envelope, this time from excitement and pride. They wanted me so much, they're even paying for my dorm room, I explained, a small smile breaking through. My trading skills and recommendations had impressed them enough to earn a personal call from the dean offering me the scholarship. Grandma's hug enveloped me, her familiar scent of lavender comforting me like a soft blanket. We're so proud of you, sweetheart. So very proud. Please don't tell them, I asked them both, pulling away to look into their eyes. They don't deserve to know. They don't, Grandpa agreed, his hand squeezing my shoulder firmly. Your success will be yours alone. That night, in the childhood bedroom of my grandparents' home, I allowed the tears to come, tears of release and new beginnings. In the fall, I started at Harrison, carrying my 2 suitcases and a burning determination. My new dorm room felt more like home than any place ever had. I dove into my studies, embracing the clarity and predictability of investment analysis, a stark contrast to the emotional chaos of my past. Internships at prestigious firms like Goldman Sachs and Morgan & Reed came next, where I excelled and earned high praise for my meticulous attention to detail and sharp market insights. Cheryl, you're exactly what we look for in future analysts, my supervisor at Morgan & Reed had noted during my evaluation. My personal life remained subdued. The scars from my family's rejection lingered. Grandma's weekly calls were my lifeline, a connection to a past that was fading away. Whenever she tried to bring up Amy or my parents, I gently cut her off. Please, Grandma, I don't want to know. She would sigh, but respected my wishes, switching the conversation to lighter topics like her garden or Grandpa's bowling league. These calls, filled with simple, everyday joys, reinforced my belief that family isn't just about blood. It's also about where you find affection, respect, and genuine care. Even as I maintained a close bond with my grandparents, there were parts of my life I never shared. Each week, our conversations spanned various topics, new recipes she was experimenting with, the books I was devouring, the shift of the seasons, yet we tactfully skirted around the void left by my family's absence. After college, I joined Morgan & Reed as a junior analyst. My knack for discerning market trends soon caught the eye of management. I immersed myself in work, volunteering for tough cases that others shied away from. The numbers on the Wilson portfolio are impressive, my boss noted one day. Keep this up and you're going places. We haven't seen such thorough analysis from a junior analyst in years. His words echoed in my mind, fueling my drive. With each passing year, my responsibilities grew, and with them, my salary. By the age of 29, I had ascended to managing my team and overseeing significant client portfolios. My colleagues half-joked that I lived for investments. In truth, my career filled the gaping hole left by familial absence. Every professional triumph was a vindication. Every promotion was a testament to my worth. When I was 31, I purchased a luxury apartment in the heart of downtown. As I stood alone in that expansive space, watching the sunset bathe the city in gold through floor-to-ceiling windows, I felt a profound sense of achievement. The marble countertops, the polished hardwood floors, the stunning view. I had built this life entirely on my own, without any help from the people who were meant to support me. Then, out of the blue, a text from my mother appeared about a housewarming party. After 13 years of silence, they wanted to reconnect. Fine, I thought. Let them see what they had discarded. The old recording of their harsh words still resided on my phone, carefully preserved through each phone upgrade, waiting for the right moment. I replied simply, "I'll be there." Her response was immediate, overly enthusiastic. "Wonderful. Can't wait to see you, sweetheart." Taking a day off work, I drove to my parents' new home, a modest 3-story in a middle-class neighborhood. It was pleasant, but it paled in comparison to my downtown abode. Several cars lined the driveway, and laughter spilled from the open windows. As I reached for the car door handle, hesitation gripped me. It had been 13 years. With a deep breath, I grasped the expensive bottle of wine I'd brought, knowing well they couldn't afford such luxuries, and made my way up the path. Nancy, a distant relative, spotted me first. "Cheryl." "Oh, my goodness, it's been forever." Her perfume-heavy hug enveloped me as other relatives swarmed around, their questions and comments flying. "How's the big city? We saw your apartment online. Why don't you visit more? You look so successful." I responded with polite smiles and vague shrugs, letting them speculate. From the corner of my eye, I saw my cousins whispering, undoubtedly noting the stark contrast between my designer attire and the more modest clothes around me. Then my parents appeared, their performances polished to perfection. My mother's hair had more gray, my father had put on weight, and Amy's expression was a carefully maintained mask. "Cheryl," my mother exclaimed, rushing forward with open arms, her voice dripping with sweetness. "My baby girl." My father joined in, his hug enveloping me. "We've missed you so much. We're so proud of everything you've achieved." If I hadn't lived through their cold dismissal, I might have believed their affection was genuine. The way my mother clutched at my shoulders, how my father's voice cracked, such flawless performances. Yet underneath, I knew the truth of their indifference and the sharpness of their past cruelty. They'd honed their performance over the years. The party moved indoors where wine flowed and platters of food made their rounds as relatives caught up on lost time. Throughout the evening, my parents made a show of their affection, laughing a bit too heartily at my jokes and touching my arm, ensuring everyone witnessed their apparent devotion to their long-lost daughter. The modest living room, crowded with family, felt smaller as eyes frequently darted my way amidst the casual chatter. During dinner, as the laughter and conversation reached a peak, Uncle Bruce stood, wine glass in hand, his cheeks flushed from alcohol. "A toast to Sarah and Albert on their beautiful new home," he announced, prompting a chorus of cheers. Then his expression changed, his eyes narrowing as he turned to me. "And Cheryl," he added, his tone serious, quieting the room as forks paused in midair and a nervous clink of glass echoed. "I have something to say to you, young lady. How dare you abandon your family, becoming rich and successful, while refusing even to call your poor parents? They've been heartbroken, wondering what they did wrong, crying over their ungrateful daughter." My stomach knotted as I observed my parents, their faces the picture of crafted concern and feigned hurt, my mother even squeezing out a tear. "They're saints for forgiving you," Uncle Bruce declared, his voice rising with indignation. After all their sacrifices, how could you treat them this way? I scanned the table at the disapproving faces of my relatives. For over a decade, my parents had been painting themselves as victims of an ungrateful daughter who abandoned them for a life of wealth and success. I cleared my throat. Mom, would you like to tell everyone the truth? Her back straightened, a confident gleam in her eye as she embraced her role. Actually, yes. Living with Cheryl was always difficult. She was spoiled, arrogant, ungrateful for everything we gave her, she proclaimed, making sure to lock eyes with each relative. She ran away after high school, abandoned us. Never looked back. No calls, no visits. We were devastated. Nods of sympathy echoed around the table. Amy, ever the actress, dabbed at her eyes with a napkin, summoning the same fake tears she'd perfected in her youth. Let me share something, I said, pulling out my phone. A hush fell over the room as I played the recording from the day I left home. I was 19 then. The playback filled the room with the harsh reality of that day. What about college? My younger voice asked. We're not paying for your education. That money is for Amy's future. My father's indifferent voice responded. We never wanted you to be born. Your mother couldn't get an abortion because of medical risks, so we were stuck with you. You were never part of this family. The recording continued, each word striking the silence like hammer blows. Aunt Kelly covered her mouth, Cousin Judy's eyes welled with tears, and Uncle Bruce's face darkened with each revelation. I stopped the recording. The room's silence was now complete, pierced only by the soft ticking of the wall clock. This is why I left, I stated firmly. Ask Grandma and Grandpa. They took me in that day. They were there when you kicked me out. I stood, pushing my chair back with a scrape against the floor. You only invited me today because you wanted to continue pretending, to show off a false reconciliation in front of everyone here. But I'm not part of this performance. With that, I left the room, leaving behind a stunned silence. The truth finally aired, freeing me from the narrative they had crafted for so long. As I revealed the truth about my parents' treatment over the years, it became clear that they had been monitoring my success online. Before today's dramatic revelation, there had been 13 years of absolute silence. Not one phone call, not a single birthday card, absolutely nothing. Uncle Bruce, who had initially been filled with righteous indignation, now looked pale, his anger replaced by a deep, visible shame. Sarah, Albert, how could you? He stammered, his previous certainty evaporating as he struggled to reconcile the image of the family he thought he knew with the reality now laid bare. Around the room, guests began to push back their chairs, the scraping noise creating a discordant symphony of disbelief and disapproval. Aunt Kelly couldn't even bear to look at my parents, muttering "you monsters" under her breath as she clutched her purse with trembling hands. Cheryl, I'm so sorry, Uncle Bruce said, his voice breaking as he made his way to the door, a clear sign of his intention to leave. I didn't know. I should have asked. One by one, others followed, their murmurs about cruel lies and disgraceful behavior floating back as they exited. The house quickly emptied, the door opening and closing with each departure, marking the end of their brief and uncomfortable presence. My parents and Amy were left sitting at the table, their faces twisted in rage as the facade of a perfect family finally shattered. You ruined everything, my mother shrieked, her mascara beginning to run. How dare you? We took you in, my father shouted, seemingly forgetting the very recording that had just played, exposing their true feelings. You wanted me here, I replied calmly, smoothing my dress. I just played your game. The only difference is I brought receipts. I walked out of their house for the last time, the sound of Amy's angry sobs echoing behind me as I walked down the path. Through my grandmother, I later learned that most relatives had cut ties with my parents. The truth had cost them more than just their reputation. It had isolated them. Today, my life is filled with friends who have chosen to be part of it, colleagues who respect me, and a peace that comes from finally exposing a painful lie. Sometimes, the best form of revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply living well on your terms, finding success and happiness independently of those who never believed in you. This path, chosen and walked with integrity and resilience, has proven to be the most rewarding of all.